Smokey Robinson, the legendary voice behind Motown classics, the man whose songs defined a generation and a symbol of timeless talent. To millions, he's a musical icon whose smooth falsetto and heartfelt lyrics brought love, heartbreak, and hope to life. But behind the accolades, the awards, and the seemingly perfect career lies a story few know, a personal tragedy that has quietly shadowed him for decades. At 85, Smokey Robinson's life is not just a celebration of music, but also a testament to resilience in the face of profound loss. Friends and family reveal that beneath his calm demeanor lies a man who has endured heartbreaks most could never imagine, losses that shaped him, challenged him, and in many ways defined him. What makes his story so devastating isn't fame or fortune. It's the human moments that fame can't protect, moments of love, loss, and regret. Robinson's journey through life and music was never just about entertainment. It was deeply personal, woven from experiences that inspired some of the most iconic songs in history. Yet, as the years passed, the struggles behind the stage lights became harder to ignore. Family conflicts, health battles, and heartbreaks that no one could see took a toll on the man who had given the world so much joy. Now, as Smokey reflects on his 85 years, fans are discovering a story far more emotional than any ballad he ever sang. A story of triumph, heartbreak, and the bittersweet reality of life behind the legend. So what is the tragedy that Smokey Robinson has endured? How did it shape the man behind the music? And why, even at 85, is his story more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined? Smokey Robinson's story begins far from the glittering lights of Hollywood or the bustling studios of Motown. Born William Smokey Robinson Jr. on February 19, 1940 in Detroit, Michigan, he grew up in a modest household, surrounded by the rhythm of life in a working-class city. Detroit in the 1940s and 50s was a city of industry and ambition, but it was also a city of challenges. Young Smokey learned early the importance of hard work, determination, and the pursuit of dreams, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. Music was always at the heart of his world. He discovered his love for singing at a young age, inspired by church choirs, doo-wop groups, and the soulful voices that filled the streets of Detroit. He and his friends would perform anywhere they could, school assemblies, local talent shows, and neighborhood gatherings, honing their skills and dreaming of bigger stages. It wasn't long before Smokey's extraordinary talent began to stand out. His smooth falsetto, emotional depth, and natural charisma were impossible to ignore. In 1955, Smokey co-founded the group that would later become the Miracles, marking the start of a career that would define Motown and shape the sound of an entire generation. Their early recordings caught the attention of Berry Gordy, who would soon turn Motown into a global powerhouse. With Smokey as the lead singer and primary songwriter, the Miracles delivered hits that would become timeless classics, songs that spoke to love, heartache, and the universal experiences of life. Tracks like Shop Around and You've Really Got a Hold on Me showcased not only his vocal brilliance, but also his ability to craft lyrics that resonated with millions. Despite his rising fame, Smokey never lost touch with his roots. He remained grounded, committed to family, and determined to use his platform responsibly. Yet as his success soared, life behind the scenes was far from easy. The pressures of the music industry were immense. Grueling schedules, intense competition, and the constant demand to produce hits created a pressure cooker environment. Smokey, who always carried a deep sense of responsibility, often placed others' needs above his own, dedicating countless hours to nurturing young talent and guiding Motown's growing roster of stars. And yet, even as he reached the pinnacle of success, life began to exact a personal toll. Relationships strained under the weight of fame, family challenges arose, and the sacrifices required to maintain his career left scars that few outside his inner circle could see. While fans admired the polished performances and smooth ballads behind the scenes, Smokey grappled with emotional struggles that would quietly follow him for decades. His story is not merely one of musical achievement. It's a story of resilience, endurance, and the human cost of extraordinary talent. By the time he reached his 30s and 40s, Smokey Robinson had already faced moments that tested his spirit, moments of personal tragedy that were eclipsed by his public success. The songs he wrote were more than entertainment. They were reflections of the trials, triumphs, and heartbreaks he experienced along the way. Even as he became a global icon, the man behind the music carried a weight that few knew existed. Fame, fortune, and accolades could not shield him from the personal struggles that would shape the most heartbreaking chapters of his life. Struggles that, even now at 85, continue to touch his heart and define the man behind the legendary voice. Behind the smooth voice and charismatic stage presence, Smokey Robinson's personal life was far from easy. As his fame grew, so did the complexity of the relationships and responsibilities that came with it. At the height of Motown's success, Smokey wasn't just a singer. He was a mentor, a husband, a father, and a creative visionary. But balancing all these roles proved to be a challenge that would leave lasting scars. One of the most profound struggles Smokey faced was in his personal relationships. Like many celebrities, the demands of touring, recording, and managing other artists often kept him away from home for long stretches. He loved his family deeply, but the constant pressure to produce hits, maintain appearances, and fulfill obligations sometimes created distance between him and the people he cared about most. Friends later reflected that Smokey carried a quiet loneliness, a feeling that, despite being adored by millions, he often faced life's toughest moments alone. Love, too, brought both joy and heartbreak. Smokey's marriage to Claudette Rogers, his longtime partner and fellow member of the Miracles, was full of deep affection, but also tested by the relentless pressures of fame. Together, they built a family, raised children, and navigated the highs and lows of the music industry. Yet, their union was not immune to tragedy. Claudette endured multiple miscarriages, each loss leaving an emotional mark that Smokey bore alongside her. These moments of grief were private, shielded from the public eye, but they shaped the emotional depth that later infused his music. Fame added another layer of difficulty. Being a global star meant constant scrutiny, rumors, and expectations. Smokey's every action was analyzed, and the very industry that celebrated his genius often demanded perfection. He was admired for his talent, yet the pressure to uphold an image of success sometimes clashed with the reality of his personal struggles. Many artists have spoken of the loneliness behind celebrity, and Smokey was no exception. A man who gave the world joy through song while quietly bearing heartache at home. Beyond relationships, the challenges of aging have also taken their toll. At 85, Smokey reflects on decades of loss, friends who passed too soon, the changes in the music industry, and the moments he could not reclaim. He has spoken candidly about health scares, the physical demands of touring, and the emotional weight of looking back on a life filled with both triumph and sorrow. Yet even through these struggles, his love for music remains unwavering, a source of comfort and expression in a life marked by both glory and grief. Smokey Robinson's songs were never just entertainment. They were reflections of his own experiences. Love, heartbreak, longing, and resilience. These themes echoed the personal tragedies and triumphs he lived through. Hits like Ooh, Baby, Baby and Tracks of My Tears were not just catchy tunes. They were windows into the soul of a man who understood loss, loneliness, and the bittersweet nature of life. Even as he celebrated career milestones and global recognition, Smokey's personal struggles were never far from his mind. The tragedy of balancing fame with family, of giving the world his voice while quietly carrying pain, is a story that resonates deeply today. At 85, he stands as a living testament to the power of endurance, the cost of genius, and the heartbreak that can accompany even the most extraordinary lives. While fans knew Smokey Robinson as the smooth voice of Motown, few understood the silent battles he faced away from the stage. Fame brought adoration, money, and recognition, but it also brought isolation, scrutiny, and pressures that weighed heavily on him. For decades, he had to navigate not only the competitive music industry, but also personal challenges that could never be solved with talent or accolades alone. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Smokey's life has been witnessing the fleeting nature of time. Friends and colleagues who shared the journey of Motown's golden era gradually passed away, leaving him to grapple with memories, regrets, and the reality of survival. Each loss brought reflection and sometimes sorrow. The music that once united him with his peers became a reminder of what was gone, deepening the emotional weight he carried at every stage of his life. Health struggles also began to surface as he aged. While Smokey maintained a vibrant appearance, the physical toll of decades of touring and performing became increasingly noticeable. Constant travel, late nights, and the demands of recording left their mark on his body. Even with careful management and a focus on wellness, the reminder of mortality grew stronger with each passing year. At 85, these challenges have become impossible to ignore, further shading the life of a man who seemed untouchable on stage. Behind the curtains, Smokey also confronted challenges within his family. The pressures of fame, coupled with past personal tragedies, created a delicate balance. Relationships sometimes strained under the weight of expectations, misunderstandings, and life's unpredictable hardships. While he loved his family deeply, the combination of his career and private losses meant that he carried more than just his own burdens. He also carried the pain of those closest to him. Yet, through all the heartbreak, Smokey Robinson remained resilient. His music, while romantic and uplifting, often reflected his personal struggles, the grief, the longing, and the quiet sorrow of life's impermanence. Songs like Being With You and The Tears of a Clown weren't just hits. They were cathartic expressions of a man who had experienced joy and heartbreak in equal measure. For many, the happiness his music evoked concealed the emotional battles he fought daily. Even as he aged, Smokey refused to retreat completely. He continued performing selectively, mentoring younger artists, and preserving the legacy of Motown. But there was an unmistakable gravity in his later years, a sense that life, while beautiful, had also tested him in ways few could understand. Fans could see his charisma on stage, but the quiet moments away from the spotlight revealed a man who had endured losses, setbacks, and personal trials that shaped the depth of his character. His tragedy is not about scandal or failure. It's the kind of heartbreak that fame and fortune cannot fix. The loss of loved ones, the challenges of aging, and the lonely moments that come with reflection. Smokey Robinson's story, now at 85, reminds us that even legends carry burdens unseen by the public. Behind the music, behind the accolades, lies a life marked by resilience, sorrow, and the enduring strength to keep moving forward despite the heartache. At 85, Smokey Robinson's life is a testament not just to talent, but to perseverance and the quiet strength required to endure decades of both triumph and tragedy. While his journey has been filled with heartbreaking moments, losses, health challenges, and personal struggles, it has also been defined by resilience, love, and a deep connection to the music that has been his life's work. Even now, Smokey continues to reflect on the lessons that hardship has taught him. He has spoken candidly about the importance of family, the need for forgiveness, and the understanding that life's challenges, though painful, are part of the journey. Each heartbreak has deepened his perspective, giving him a wisdom that resonates in his music and in his interactions with others. For him, peace comes not from avoiding pain, but from facing it with grace. In recent years, he has focused on mentorship, sharing his experiences with younger generations of artists. Smokey understands the pressures of fame and the weight of personal loss, and he is determined to help others navigate the pitfalls he encountered. His guidance is infused with empathy, informed by decades of living through moments that tested his spirit and strength. Many young musicians consider him not just a legend, but a source of inspiration and guidance, someone who has transformed tragedy into lessons of resilience and hope. His family remains central to his life. Despite the challenges and past heartaches, he has cultivated a sense of closeness and love that sustains him. Time with his children and grandchildren has become a sanctuary, a place where he can laugh, share stories, and feel the continuity of life. These relationships, though tested over time, have offered him a source of healing that fame and fortune never could. Smokey's reflections on his life now carry a bittersweet quality. He looks back on decades of music that touched millions, yet he acknowledges the sacrifices and pain that accompanied the applause. Health struggles, the losses of friends, and moments of isolation have all left their mark, yet they have also shaped the depth and authenticity of the man behind the music. His story is a reminder that greatness often comes at a personal cost, and that the human spirit is measured not by what it avoids, but by how it survives. Even in the shadow of tragedy, Smokey Robinson continues to create, inspire, and connect with the world. His songs remain timeless, his voice still captivating, and his presence a reminder of endurance. At 85, his story is more than a career highlight reel. It is a portrait of a life fully lived, with all its joy and sorrow, its laughter and tears. For fans and admirers, the heartbreak in Smokey's journey adds a profound layer to his legacy. It reminds us that behind the legends, behind the music that brings joy, are real people facing the same struggles we all do: love lost, health challenged, and the relentless passage of time. And yet, even in the face of these hardships, Smokey Robinson stands as a beacon of grace, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. His tragedy is heartbreaking, yes, but it is also a story of hope, of a man who has survived, loved and inspired, leaving behind a legacy that transcends music and touches the very heart of life itself.